Hey, this week on The Flip Side,
we're going to tell you what a locker room has to do with your spiritual gifts.
We're also going to talk about the crucialness of interdependence and why tea is better than coffee, boys.
We're going to learn all about gifting. Join us on The Flip Side. Welcome to The Flip Side. I have with me the one and only incredible worship leader, Charmaine. Charmaine, it's your first time on The Flip Side.
It is. I'm a little bit excited,
Yes.
nervous maybe.
Well, we had Corbin a few weeks ago, and I made the
nice.
joke that we don't let worship leaders ever talk about theology. We're definitely making that exception for you. And as you all know, on The Flip Side, there has to be at least one person
At least one.
with an accent
That's
on
it.
the show at all
It
times.
sounds more spiritual.
Yes, so welcome. We're really
Thank
glad
you.
that you're here. And for the first time, we've got our Adventure Campus Senior Pastor of Glory,
Come on.
Ethan Vanse is
Come
with
on.
us here.
Yeah, I thought it was important that we let people know there were other people
Yes.
on staff that know things about theology besides Jason Kane. So
Yes.
I just thought that was important. Sorry, Jason. Love you, bro.
Roasted.
Love you, I love you, Jason. But we're glad Ethan's here this week because it's been pretty much the Jason show the last couple of
We need to straighten all that out. Now we
Yes,
got to set it all straight.
So we've been on this topic at Bayside of discovering, identifying, applying, and using your gifts. We asked 4 essential questions, but before we get into that, I just want to say one thing really quick at the top. We are on a mission to engage people throughout the week with great biblical content. We don't want to be a church that does 1 hour on one campus once a week. And so part of The Flip Side and a bunch of other stuff we're doing is trying to get you on your way to work, in your backyard, as you're washing your dishes, to think about and apply the truths of God's Word. So can I ask you to do this favor for us? Would you like and share and follow right now? Just stop right now and share this one. Just share it to your family members, friends, office, coworkers, the person who annoys you the most, so we can actually get this stuff to the
That's so good.
DNA level of our lives.
Yeah,
Amen?
that's so good.
Okay, cool. Now, I was about to forget something. We have coffee.
Come
Before
on.
we get into these questions we got some killer ones. We got Miss Haley coming in
Come on.
with the coffee. Haley is our producer, director, writer, creative,
Man, thank you.
CEO of Caffeinated Inspiration.
Yes.
She is the doctrinal committee for The Flip Side. What are we
Nice.
drinking, Haley?
Today we have an Ethiopian single origin coffee with flavor notes of cherry, spices, not pumpkin spice, but just spices, and apricot.
Wow.
Okay.
Do
We
you
don't-
taste any of that?
I feel like I taste all of that. I feel like that's exactly how I would have
feel
described this coffee.
The lack of
Ethiopian.
Accurate.
The lack of pumpkin spice.
Did you
My
not
inner
tell me?
hipster.
Charmaine, not drinking coffee?
Well, you both know I'm Australian, so I like my cup of tea.
Oh, excuse us. So classy. So classy.
Don't throw your
Just
hands up
get
like that, Ethan.
Get
Dalton.
that.
I just-
Dalton. Hey, Ethan.
I didn't ask for
Yeah,
this
the
cup.
whole,
I
you got,
don't-
it's
The
got
whole rest of the
just have your
podcast.
pinky out. We're
My
just.
cup is too heavy to do that.
Oh, see, your pinky's already out, guys. That's just,
the
oh,
body
cheers
of
to you.
Christ and all its gifts. Oh.
That's good. Oh, that's
Cup
good.
of tea is the way to do it, guys.
All right. So we got a little caffeine. We asked 4 questions this weekend. Great questions. I want to ask kind of the follow-up question. If I'm sitting there listening to you preach a sermon at Adventure, or it was Ray and I at Granite Bay, I immediately, once we asked the questions, I had follow-up questions. So I want to ask this question: why is this so hard for people? So we kind of asked, does each person have a gift? And the obvious answer is yes. I want to ask, why is this so hard for people to think that, yeah, I got a gift? And then I want to ask, why in the Bible is this such a healthy thing? You see, especially in 1 Corinthians, the major gift doctrinal area, you see Paul going to a church in crisis and division and immaturity, and he says the way to get you out of this crisis, division, and immaturity is to teach on the proper using of gifts. Why is that his strategy? Why is that so healthy? Yeah. And then I want to get personal. I want to ask the so what. I want to say, hey, tell me a little bit about your story. Let me tell you a little bit about mine. I want to hear about your story. When you took that step and actually kind of walked out some gifting in your life and said, not my natural gift. I'm really open to applying and being used in spiritual gifts. Kind of ask the so what question. So that's what we're going to do.
Right.
Why and what and how on spiritual gifts. And let's start right at the beginning. Does every person have a spiritual gift? Here's my question for you guys. Why are teachers and preachers and pastors and spiritual leaders, why do they have to teach on this so much, and it seems so difficult for people just to go, oh, I'll believe that. God's given me a gift, and now I'm going to go use it. Why is this such a hard topic?
I mean, for me, I think that's really, really easy, because this is something that even I've struggled with. I think it's because you naturally will look on the stage, the people that are up there, the people that are, you have this natural ideal, and usually people's ideals of themselves are way more unrealistic. You know what I mean? And I think the word and everything that the Lord wants us to do is so simple and humble sometimes. And I think even more powerful in that realm. So people from the audience might look at the stage and be like, I got to be that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or I
and
got
if
to
I'm
be
not that, there is
I got
no
to be
gift
that
for me.
successful person. That they must have a spiritual gift. You know, they must, and I have to have that. I don't have that, so they don't even go there.
So you've been on a lot of stages, Charmaine. Let me ask you this. Is everyone you've ever been on stage with, get ready for a softball question, using a spiritual gift?
Okay, so yes and no.
Okay, Charmaine's very nice.
So politically correct.
I would have just said no.
Yes and no. Both and. I'm not going to get in trouble
I've been on stage
here.
with a lot of people going, wow, you have a wonderful natural gift. But you're not using a gift of grace right now. You're using all your natural talent.
Right. I think it would. I'm trying to be very kind and not be in the place of God and judge somebody's heart.
We should have Charmaine on the flip side, because she's the only one so far that's been on that's trying to be kind.
That's good.
Yeah, she's the only one with teeth.
It's the tea, it's
Mark
the
Clark,
kindness.
Mark Clark, Andrew McCord, Jason Kane, Corbett, none of those guys were trying to be kind. So no, talk to me about that. What's the difference? First of all, I love this point of, we see the people on stage and we go, oh, that's the pinnacle I have to attain to. If I'm not there, I'm not going to engage in spiritual gifts.
Well,
I just want to get from your side, is just being on stage doesn't make it a spiritual gift.
No, not at all. And I think for me, even personally for me, being on stage, there's a servanthood aspect to it. Like regardless of how I feel, regardless of where I am in life, my circumstances, I'm going to choose to walk in obedience and serve in the way that I know how to do best. You know, so there's that, I think, that heart aspect of things. But no, not everybody that goes on stage is actually walking out in their spiritual gifts. In fact, I think the Spirit can't use that as much. You know what I mean?
How do you tell the difference between, I'm just walking in my natural giftedness on this stage, I'm singing with the voice that I inherited from my mom and dad, and I'm exhorting and encouraging and doing it as a worship leader?
Say the question again.
So how do you tell the difference? How do you tell the difference with someone who's just like, oh man, that person's a wonderful voice and I'm enjoying listening to them sing, as opposed to someone who, as they're singing and leading the congregation, you go, oh, they're exhorting. They're encouraging. They're actually moving
beyond the song
in a spiritual gift.
Again, I would say it is the heart condition of that person. Again, I would say it is like their walk with God. And I tell a lot of my Thrive students that are aspiring worship leaders, I say, you cannot speak unless it is something you're convicted about, something you've experienced in your own life. So even if it's super simple, then speak from that, or exhort from that, but not from what you've heard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because again, we try and become
God's
the
got to do it in you before you can do it through you.
And we're constantly trying to be the ideal version of ourselves, the ultra spiritual ideal version of ourselves, so we grasp for things that we don't yet know or haven't yet walked through.
Yes.
So I think it's a heart matter. You know what I mean?
I just want
and
to
that
say,
makes
for the record,
difference.
You have a powerful voice, but that's not what impresses me about you when you're leading, Charmaine. It is that heart issue. I used to tell all my worship teams, I said, listen, here's the number one rule. Thou shalt not distract.
Yeah.
And
yes.
there's a way to distract by being incompetent. You can distract from the Lord. There's a way of distracting by being competent and being so talented and working that natural gift. And the great worship leaders are the ones where you go, oh, there's nothing unrehearsed or unprepared or unexcellent about their voice. But that's not what I'm thinking about as they lead.
Right.
That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm undistracted from the life. You do an incredible job of that. So let me turn to you, Ethan. You're as a guy who leads teams, as a guy who leads churches. You're evaluating the spiritual gift versus the natural gift. Why is it that people have a hard time? So Charmaine's got the right and best answer, which is they just look to the stage. Yeah. What are some of the other things that just keep people from taking that step?
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think the stage is the ultimate example of it. But I think no matter what walk of life we're in, we always look at the gifts that other people have, and we think, we go, oh, those are magical and they're mysterious, and I don't know how it works, and that's amazing.
It's comparison.
But the gifts I have feel mundane. They feel normal. They feel everyday. Why? Because they're yours. You're familiar with them. You know how it works, and you go. But that can't be a spiritual gift because it's too easy. The spiritual gifts are hard. They're magical. They're spectacular, and you overlook what you have. And I think the problem is when everybody does that, the whole machine slows down.
So I had this experience, Steph. I had a really good friend. Her name's Sandy. She the true spiritual gift of administration and of helps. So administration, it's not just I organize the papers. The gift of administration, I think, is I think ahead well. I think strategically ahead. So she's prepared in a way that I'm not gifted to be prepared. And she just went through this little season where she was like, why doesn't God use me more in evangelism or even some of the supernatural gifts? Why don't I have the insight about people? I'm sitting next to someone on the plane and God says, here's what's going on in their life. And she was journaling and praying a lot about this. And I just kept telling her, I said, Sandy, you're so incredibly spiritually gifted at this insight strategically that don't devalue that. Don't compare it to you. And so we were having this conversation. About a year later, we're in staff meeting, and we're just worshiping before we get to the agenda. And she says, I'm going to say something. This is going to sound strange. And she said, I just feel like Curt, God has a blessing for you today. I don't know what it is, but the first thing you should do when you go home is like look through your mail or ask Kelly. I just feel like God's got a blessing for you today. And we didn't think about it, and I didn't think about it in context of that conversation we'd had many months ago. And when the second she said that, I kid you not, Ethan, I went, you know what? God, I feel like God's telling me that you should go home and look a year from today in your journal and see what you wrote. And this was not like something we did in our staff meeting. This was like, it was like this weird little moment. And we were both like, what just happened? So I go home from work that day. She calls me. She's in tears. She's like, I looked in my journal, and you know what it said? It said that God would... I was writing all of this, and I said, God really wants me to be grateful for the gifts I have. And when I'm grateful for the gifts I have, He's going to actually direct me into a few other gifts.
Wow.
And I was sitting there on the phone with her, holding a check for $500
Come on.
that someone had randomly sent me in the mail that I needed to repair a leaky water heater in my old house.
Wow.
And we were just kind of going, we had this little moment of going, oh, there's different gifts.
Yeah.
There's one gift giver.
Yeah.
And He's giving them when and how and exactly. And we should not compare.
Yeah.
We should just walk in that faith.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's so good.
That's
And
right.
I love what Paul says. He says, desire spiritual gifts. So I think there's part of it, too, where sometimes we overlook the spiritual gifts that we have. We haven't unearthed them yet, partly because we just don't see their value. We don't see that maybe it's even important.
Right.
So I think part of this series, part of what I love is just hopefully it's awakening in people that desire to go, wow, maybe I should look for more than just my natural job, my 9 to 5, my family, my friends. Maybe there's something underneath that spiritual that God wants to do.
And it is a gift of grace. That's really important to understand that I have not earned this gift.
Yeah.
I am not an exhorter, an encourager, or a teacher because I played my cards right and God said, well, God's saying, my body needs this, and this is something meant to humble you that I give you this gift. So the comparison thing actually has a little element of pride into it, going, I have to be this way is too self-focused. So,
I think that's huge for people to understand. Like for me, it was really difficult to feel like I already had the gifts, but I felt growing up like when I got to a certain point of maturity, or I crossed a line where God was sort of like giving out gold stars, like now you get a gift, now you're going to be able to do what I called you to do, but to understand that He gives those things, and it's our job to lean into them wherever we are. no matter how long we've been walking with him.
So I want to get in the passage specifically more, because we're talking about first, really the bulk of what we've been talking about is 1 Corinthians 12, 13, and 14. And Corinthians is fascinating, wonderful, so applicable book for our cultural context. In fact, we have a joke around here at Bayside. We call it First Californians, because all the compromise and all the chaos and all of the immaturity and all of the I'm going to use my gift to be puffed up over you and celebrity. Yeah. It's all right there in Corinthians. And what astonishes me is Paul's answer to the immaturity of the Corinthian church, to the division of the Corinthian church, to the lack of teachability. So part of the problem is there's moral compromise. Part of the problem is people are coming to church and using their gift in a showy way. Part of the problem is they're showing up for the Lord's Supper, and rich folks have got croissants, and the poor folks have got those gluten-free wafers that we serve around here. I mean, it's totally there's injustice and inequality and classism going on. And Paul goes, I'm going to solve all that by teaching on spiritual gifts. That would not be my go-to. I would solve all that by teaching on just sin directly. I would solve all that by... and I guess you see a little of this in Paul. I would get very frustrated. In 2 Corinthians is like, I might have been a little hot and toasty in my other letter. What is it about spiritual gifts that inherently brings health to the church?
Would you like me to answer
I would like Charmaine.
Charmaine, mine the depths of the scripture for us.
I mean...
Charmaine likes to rehearse and practice a lot, so this format is ominous for her.
Not true. Not true, and yes.
Okay.
True. I mean, I look at the bigger picture, like we're born again creatures, right, in this world, kingdom of God, and I look at the spiritual gifts and I'm thinking, this is what he's trying to incorporate as children of God. We're actually just meant to be replicas of him, And I actually forgot your question. I forgot my point.
We'll rephrase the question.
Why do gifts bring healthiness to the body of Christ?
Oh, because
I probably just should have said it just like that. I went on and on. I love talking about the Corinthians.
In saying that, I think spiritual gifts at the heart of it is looking at other-centeredness. Like it's having this other-centered mentality. Serve, to be merciful, to be gentle, if that's one of them, to genuinely love one another.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And in doing so, we create other replicas so that other people can know and be the same thing.
Yes.
I don't know.
How would you answer it?
Yeah, I think it is fascinating, right? Because as leaders, you want to confront the problem. So why doesn't Paul just go, you guys are just jacked up, stop doing this? And he does a little bit of that, but he's so wise in the way he says, understand that each one of you plays a part and you're like a body. And if you cut off part of your body, the whole thing suffers. Right. That's what you're doing to each other. And the body's not whole unless you're walking in your gift and I'm walking in mine and Charmaine's walking in hers. And when you understand that, you tend to start going, wow, I need you more than I think I do. Right. Even though maybe your gift isn't as visible as mine or mine's not as visible as yours. I need you more than I think I do. And
I think that's a great thought.
By serving
I need you more than I first was aware of, sensitized to, think I do, and especially relative to how showy the gift is or versus unshowy the gift. Yeah. I think the spiritual gifts, they're gifts of grace, so we don't earn them. They're given to us. We submit to faith. We are given a gift, our gifts. And I think they do two things at the same time. They lower our pride. My gift is more important than you. No, actually, once I start practicing it, I see it. My gift is completely dependent on your gift. And they also lower our sense of insignificance. So we're really weird animals. We can be super arrogant and super egotistical and very insecure at the exact same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can look at the person on the stage like you're saying and go, I'm not that person. And then go have a fight with the music director at our church about why I don't get to be on the worship team. Right. We can be both those people at the same time. And what spiritual gifts do is they take your pride and they put it here, and they take your fear and insecurities and insignificance and they raise it up here. Right. And then there's this healthy you.
It levels the playing field.
It levels the playing field.
Right.
Exactly.
And not one is more important than the other.
Yes.
Because you realize the importance of both.
And I think it does it in a way that natural talents don't. Because when you understand this isn't just, oh, I need you because you're a little bit better at speaking than I am, and there's a natural side of that, and if we want to get things done, you better talk and I better plan. We understand that those gifts are spiritual, and so they're connected ultimately to God, and if He's not directing them, then we're all out of luck. And it sort of just flattens it all real fast, and we go, wow, we're not going to get a whole lot done or be very effective without that being at work.
You know, one of the things I'm constantly consulting with leaders on when they have I have a fight on my board. There's two departments. The children's ministry hates worship. Worship went too long. Worship team is looking at the children's building.
Charmaine, you're going too long. This is why we're having this conversation, because I need to tell you, worship went too long.
Well, and this happens.
No, it's true. That's real world. Yeah.
The preacher wants an extra point. The worship leader wants an extra song.
Yep.
And the person that's practicing hospitality and helps with the 2-year-old wants to hand that 2-year-old back to their parent before it manifests demons. Because we know the greatest worship service and the greatest sermon are all undone by one dirty diaper and screaming and yelling at checkout time in the children's building. So each leadership team has a different goal, an important goal, and a worthy goal. You wouldn't say any of those goals are unworthy. What spiritual gifts do is create this conversation about interdependence. It makes the worship team go, you know what? I'm not doing that job. I can't do that job. And I have to empathize and appreciate what they're doing. So like one of the things I consult with teams always is, listen, you need to go through a spiritual gift assessment and value, kind of go, wow, I didn't realize how well and hard your team is working at that. And that ups all of it ups everyone's significance on the team and creates cohesion and creates empathy, and all of a sudden people start working together. Or even just do a role reversal. Put those worship team leaders in that room for a weekend. And I asked a friend of mine once, I said, you have so-and-so at your church about 3 times a year. He's a great guy, but he's not a great communicator. Why do you do it? He goes, well, first of all, I'm loyal to him. He's a friend. Second of all, it's not bad for my people to see an example.
An example of not
That's
quite.
Terrible. Does he know that?
He does now. You're welcome. I think what I think is awesome. I
won't mention his name. Let's call him Mandrew Acort.
That's awesome.
Does he pick potatoes?
I'm joking. That wasn't Andrew.
What you use a word that I think is super important, just doctrinally in the letters to the Corinthians, is the word interdependence, right? And I think
interdependence. Absolutely, what I'm saying.
In sociology, you see that wherever Christianity has grown, the understanding of interdependence, worth, diversity, all holding a tension against each other. We're diverse, but yet we're interdependent. We're different, but we're all we're all on the same side, and it creates just a beautiful harmony between race, gender, where other places in the world haven't necessarily experienced that. And I think that's the beauty of what Paul's teaching.
And I love that over codependence or dependence or independence. Codependence is I'm enabling something to be bad in your dependence is I'm completely not mature enough to handle my own business, and independent means leave me alone. I think one of the reasons, going back to that first question of why do people have a hard time grabbing onto a gift and going and serving in it is because by its nature, it makes me independent or interdependent. And so there's a part of us that goes, I'm so lonely, I want to connect better. But not if it is actually with people.
Interdependent means it's going to get messy.
It's going to get messy. Exactly. When I start using my gift and you start using your gift, we're going to have to negotiate how long the service lasts. And come to a conclusion.
So this is why we're actually meeting.
Yes, this is a passive-aggressive appeal.
Because I like to preach really long. I have words, Charmaine, lots of words.
I do. I'm with you.
Amen.
I'm with you, but you come off stage, we have someone who works in our backstage at Granite Bay, Teresa, and She never rebukes you. She just gives you a condemning look.
You just know what she's thinking.
And you know the Lord's with her.
Yes, that's true.
So
okay, let's get into this. Awesome. What and where are spiritual gifts in the Bible?
Hey, real quick, let me ask this.
Yeah,
okay, so it's difficult for people, right?
Yeah.
Difficult for people to operate in their spiritual gifts, maybe understand they have. What would you say to somebody that is on the kind of on the outside of this conversation, maybe beginning their walk with God, or maybe they've had a long career, great career, great job. I know but I don't know what I'm doing spiritually.
Yes. I love the verse. If anyone desires leadership, let him first be tested. I think there's a principle there that goes even beyond leadership. When I coached briefly Little League and Pee Wee baseball when my kid was, and one of the things I would tell the parents is, if you show up and say, my kid's a pitcher, only let him pitch, you're not going to like my team.
Yeah.
Because at that age of development in baseball, they should play every position. Because eventually, when they are a pitcher, they're going to be glad they know what it means to throw a ball from right field. Yeah. And so there used to be a category in baseball called the utility infielder. And still today, you'll find players that have this capacity. They can catch, they can play first and second, short and third. They know all of the defensive circumstances and situations for playing that utility. I think if you're young in this topic, try exhortation. You'll find out quickly if it's not your spiritual gift. Try helps.
That's good.
And if you go through 5 of them, you go, that didn't really fit. I don't really feel like the Lord was behind me in that. At least you've developed empathy and appreciation for the people that do that. And a lot of times you can't think about this naturally. That's why you got to go try it. So I, for one brief period, I was at a church and I was the director of Cradle to College, which meant I was in charge of the children's program. Really bad idea. And because
but those were some really deep theological 2-year-olds, I guarantee it.
Well, and I'll tell you what the one thing I learned was, I went in there, no one was happy with the nursery, the little babies. And the woman in charge was the most nurturing person in our church. She was the kindest, gentlest, and most nurturing. And she was in charge of putting together the schedules, of making sure that everything was washed down, of making sure that all the services balanced and flowed, and of the training of the volunteers. The woman that was in the cry room was the most commando, authoritative, organized, directive person. And we put her in a room with the most frustrated babies, and she would be giving them commands. Stop the crying now. This crying, you're better than this.
And that's why they call it a cry room.
And meanwhile, the person that was in charge of the whole thing was going, I guess we wiped it down. I can't remember. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I had one good move that whole time. I switched them. Yeah. And it was hard on both of their egos, because the person who was in the cry room she was involved in so many other areas as a strong leader. She didn't think she had room and capacity for it, but yet she was spending more time and energy being frustrated about the children's department than she would have been actually leading it. And the person who was at the top of it thought that going into the cry room was a demotion. Within 2 weeks of the switch, they both came to me and said, oh, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's
thank
good.
you. Yeah. And you'd walk in the cry room, and the gift of hospitality could be felt.
Yeah.
The spiritual gift could be felt, even among the babies. Yeah. And then the gift of administration and leadership could be felt at the top. And so a lot of times, it's just a matter of going, we don't know this until you just, and that's why I didn't fire him. I said, try the chair.
Try this.
Try this chair.
Yeah.
And see how that feels.
That's so good. I love that.
Really
I think that if there was anything I would want everybody on any team that I'm a part of to feel is that grace, right? It's it's a gift of grace from God, but when you operate it, there's also a grace. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, when you're outside your gift, it's like trying to write left-handed. You're going to know it. It's like this. I'm doing the same things you're doing, but it's not. It's weird. It's not working. It's very frustrating. It takes me twice as long. Why is this? It's not your gift. Yeah. I think that's so huge, just to be able to find that place where you have that grace.
That's awesome.
And I'd say one of the things I'd say specifically to leaders and team leads is beware fairness. Because fairness says, okay, so Ethan got a shot.
Yeah.
Now we have to give Charmaine a shot. Now we have to give Curt a shot. Now it's Ethan's turn again. I went to this one church, and they were struggling to find a worship leader. And the pastor made this decision. He goes, okay, I have X amount of people on my leadership team. All of them we're going to rotate between like the 5 of them for who gets to lead worship.
Oh no.
And it was
oh no.
Exactly, the worship.
Stressed.
Yeah. And the idea was, if we don't do that, there's going to be a power battle of who gets to be the worship leader after this one worship leader left. Mm-hmm. Well, so I come at Sunday night service, and we're in the prayer meeting before, and there's a lady in the prayer meeting. She's a tall lady. She's probably 6'1", unusually tall for a female, and she's got the bandana puff mic on because this is the 1990s, and everyone had to be Garth Brooks or Madonna. And she's one of these people that is, she's very meek and very contrite and very humble, and she doesn't say anything in the prayer meeting. And I'm like, I wonder, what is she doing? Announcements? Why does she have the mic on? And she goes out there, and she's the worship leader, and she stands there just like this. And the first note starts playing, and she starts going, Hosanna, Hosanna. And I realized the hand motions
I don't see any problem.
When it was her time, when it was the fairness and it was her week, she just stood there as a naturally quieter person. She had stood there while she led, and someone said, add some hand motions, and she was teachable. And so and she did every note in every song like this. And I'm like, at some point, you got to have the fight and just go, that's not it.
Boy, that's good.
And I'm not doing any favors.
Yeah.
And she wasn't the sort of person who was going to say no, because she's kind of nice and says yes to her pastor.
Yes.
And talk about putting her in a bad and awkward situation. And that's, when we do the fairness, that's what we do. We don't help people.
Boy, and I think no matter wherever you work and whatever team you lead, I mean, this is stuff that I'm making mental notes of too with the teams I'm on. But that's just gold. I mean, to take back to your teams and just, man, even in your family with your kids, just like, man, fairness doesn't rule. Getting in the right spot in the body is the key, and that has to trump everything else.
Okay, let's talk some specifics here, though. So, Romans 12, 6 and 8, prophecy, serving, teaching, exhorting, giving, leading, showing mercy. Ephesians 4, apostleship, prophecy, evangelism, pastor, teacher. 1 Peter 4, speaking and serving. And then you got the Corinthian ones, and I'm not going to tell you the chapter, I'm just going to read them all. Words of wisdom, words of knowledge, faith, healing, miracles, prophecy, distinguishing of spirits, tongues, interpreting tongues, apostleship, prophecy, teaching, miracles again, healing, helps, administration, tongues, apostleship, prophecy, teaching, miracles, healing, tongues, interpreting tongues in that final chapter in Corinthians. So two questions. First of all, on these lists, is this all of the gifts? Is this list exhaustive? Let's talk a little bit about like that. What if you look at that and you go, I'm not tongues, I just don't see myself anywhere here. What is this? Tell me about, Ethan, just your overall attitude about this kind of list, and what would your advice be to someone who doesn't naturally just see themselves on this immediately?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I always thought that like the Bible is completely accurate, and so you have that in the back of your head. This is authoritative, so that list must have everything on it, complete. It's all there. But then when you start reading through the rest of the Bible, you start reading some of the Old Testament things that were celebrated, things like musicians that played, craftsmen that built things, people that had given things to support the work of the ministry.
Yeah,
you start realizing
Jesus had a financial support team, mostly women.
Yes, absolutely. So you see this whole other. We get some woos over here. Woo! You start seeing this whole other category of things, and so while I think it is certainly authoritative, it's probably not exhaustive.
Yes.
It's probably used more as an example of, let me tell you what these things are and what they're like.
Yes.
Let me highlight some things that I think are most important for you to be considering. But there's probably that list could probably go on and on.
I just tell people, it's directive, not definitive.
Yeah.
And to this degree, don't have fights over it.
Yeah.
Don't have fights. Yeah. The people that want to build really precise doctrines on every one of these definitions, and there's no other definitions to this, are probably not thinking the way that Paul is.
Right.
On the other hand, I'm not going to minimize or diminish this list.
Absolutely.
Definitely my starting point and my authority and the gravity well of the discussion. But if I'm drawing these really fine lines between what a teacher is and what a preacher is, I don't think I'm honoring really the heart and spirit of, like I think Paul's pouring a ton of this stuff out going, look, there's a bunch of this.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you, let me ask kind of a follow-up question. Are these one and done gifts? Do I get one of those?
See, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
The reason I don't believe that is because of grace. And so I think it's more like, first of all, my identity is not my gift. I'm not a preacher.
Yes.
So people come up and they want to say, Pastor Curt. I know what they mean, and it's respect, and they admire me. But sometimes with my closer friends, I'll say, don't call me Pastor Curt, and I won't call you Teacher Ed or business person Phil.
Yeah.
This is my calling, my vocation, the spiritual gift God has given me by grace. I'm Curt the dad, and Curt the follower of Christ, and Curt the husband of Kelly. I'm Curt the sinner. That's my identity. I'm the Curt, the receiver of grace. And so, to me, these are more like my major and my minors.
Right.
And I think a long time ago, I read a book on Wimber, and whatever you think about John Wimber, I think he had this right. And the idea was, when I went to school, I went, gosh darn, what did I think would be the most effective for my future? Well, it's kind of like that. What would be the most effective for God's kingdom? I'm going to major in this.
Boy, that's good.
And so I have majored. Every teacher in my entire life said, Curt, be quiet. Curt, your problem is you speak too much. Curt, I love you, you're funny. I always got the you on disturbs others on my report card. Unsatisfactory.
It's the best.
And then one day they said, hey, we're going to have one Friday night where we're going to let students preach. And in college, Curt, do you want to be one of the preachers? And then every single one of my friends and the people in my life said, talk more. And so what I thought was a liability, what I had been trying to quench and curb my whole life, and rightfully so in that context, all of a sudden I realized, no, it's a gift of grace that God has given me in terms of exhortation, teaching, pastoring, and leading through communication. So that's my major. Yeah. That's what I've been majoring in. It's not my identity.
Right.
So now, what would if you guys put some words towards you, Charmaine? What on this list? I think apostle. That's the first one I would just put right to you.
What?
I just wanted to get a reaction.
Are you kidding?
I want to come back and ask the question about apostle. What do you think, Charmaine? Which one of these words are you in here?
I mean, I think service is a big thing for me. I think that would be one of my favorites. Mainly because, and might be my insecurity mixed in this, mainly because it's hard for me to identify with anything else. They seem to, I would have to be Apostle Paul, to acquire them, or Peter, or, any of the disciples, because I feel like, but for me, it's like, what can I do? For me, my motto has always been this, it's like, love somebody else the way you would want to be loved, and so whatever that means for me is what I fashion my life around.
Yeah, helps, service, all that in there. I would say you have a faith impact on people, though. You look up, and in your leadership, I think other people look up. Would you see that in yourself, Charmaine?
No, I
don't know. I'm speaking a word of knowledge over you right now.
There you go.
No, I mean, honestly, you're not a Debbie Downer. You're like a lot of worship leaders, and I probably have a personal bias in this. They're like, let's sing some songs to the Lord. Like a deer panteth for such a sinner.
Hey, Charmaine, let's get Curt an adventure this week. That's powerful.
No, but I mean, honestly, I leave more encouraged when you're leaving. And I think that's a gift of faith. As you go,
so encouraging.
I could trust Jesus in this.
Yeah.
I could do this. Jesus could do this.
No, that's so encouraging that you would even say that, because I think the opposite of myself. I tend to be very pessimistic.
We need to get Cameron in here. He will say this.
How does your spouse answer this? That's a good test.
I just heard you say Cameron would agree with you and say, no, not the gift of faith. It's gift of realism, gift of growing up.
But here's what that does, and maybe that's why it would make sense that you would say something like that. Here's what that does. It forces me to, and maybe this is the Spirit of God working in me, it forces me to get down to the nitty-gritty. What is the truth of my situation? If I'm going through something difficult, then what do I believe in?
Yes.
And I want to encourage people in that, because it encourages me.
Yeah, and what we're doing right now is what the spiritual leaders in my life did for me. So I don't think you're meant to figure this out by your own.
Yes.
So I had a guy look at me and said, you're good at small groups. You have to get the leadership. In my family, I'm 5th of 7. I was not seen as a leader at all.
Wow.
I was seen as snotty-nosed Curt that you have to help him get his homework together. And it wasn't until I got in that dynamic of leading a small group, and those groups grew and divided and multiplied. He said, you don't open your eyes to this. I would have not seen that leadership gift in myself.
Right.
Because of the self-concept I had from my family of origin.
Right.
Part of what we're doing right now, I think, is just what you do. You ask, which one of these gifts? I have found, too, that people will always pick the humbler gifts.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit like the interview. What's your greatest weakness?
Yeah,
I'm too nice. It's because you don't want to say I am an evangelist, right?
And you worry. Well, then the person who goes, apostle. Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa, I don't know about you.
One of the characteristics of apostles, humility. So I think you just disqualified yourself by mentioning it.
Right. One of my favorite ways of phrasing it is, I think your spiritual gift is linked to a real world problem.
Yeah.
So I think how you solve a problem is a great indicator of your spiritual gift. So so if somebody were to walk in here right now and drop a coffee mug, they were to spill it, the person with the gift of mercy is going to go put their arm around them and go, oh, how's your heart? Are you okay? How are you feeling right now? Can I pray for you? That's the gift of mercy. The gift of administration is like, hey, somebody grab a mop, somebody get them a new cup of coffee. The person with the gift of giving goes, here, you want mine? Yeah, you can have mine. The gift of encouragement, which is me, is like, hey, get back up. Do it again. Your next cup of coffee, you're not going to drop, baby. Come on, you're gonna do great with this.
That is you.
But the gift of leadership is standing back, and they're not engaging. The gift of leadership is going.
Plastic cups from now on.
Where did we go wrong?
Yeah, that's exactly.
What happened here? Yes. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again. Right. And but the challenge with that is the person with the gift of mercy resents the leader, and they go, why don't you care? Yeah, Curt's heart is hurting, guys.
Why aren't you putting your arm around it?
That's
very good.
But when you start to see that, and you go, how would I solve this problem? Then you start going, that's probably connected to my gift.
I do a similar emotional word picture, but it's the locker room, and this works for anyone who's been in soccer or football. And of course, you have the classic movie scene where the coach, halftime of the basketball game or right before the football game, gives the inspirational speech, and I'm like, who are you in that locker room? If you are the person that's writing the X's and O's on the chalkboard and drawing out the strategy, that's the leadership gift. Yeah. If you're the person who is giving that inspirational pump up right before everyone yells, well, then that's the exhortation and encouragement gift. That might be more the preaching gift. If you're the person who goes, this speech won't do anything to get us the right cleats and pads on the field. And your gift of administration or gift of helps, and and so where are you in that locker room?
That's so good.
Going to tell you.
That's a great question.
And by the way, what's so cool about that is the focus is always on the guy that's drawing the X's and O's, or the gal that's drawing the X's and O's, or the person giving that inspirational speech. But if they run out of the locker room and there's no balls or no shoulder pads or the wrong cleats are on their feet for the type of turf they got, they lose the game. And it immediately shows you the equipment manager is as essential to the win as the Newt Rockney, let's give one for the Gipper guy. And then someone said to me, I think Gilbert said this to me, he said, and then there's the guy that's filming all that and writing the script. And okay, you could take it too far, but there's some truth in that too.
And there's always the person whose gift you didn't mention. They're like, but the coffee's not cleaned up yet. So the person with the gift of service is like, but you got to clean it right.
Yes.
Yeah, but
so
that's
let
good.
me put you on the point. Like, Ethan's an incredible communicator, and if you haven't been to our venture campus, go and listen to Ethan teach.
Unbelievable.
Obviously, yes.
So humble.
Especially
and humble too. No, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I use it all the time.
And you just said encourager. Is there any other one on here you'd say, you know what, there was a moment in my life I didn't think I was this, but I think God, at least in that season, gave me the spiritual gift of...
Yeah, I would say definitely encouragement, like exhortation, would be high. Gift of faith would be right there with it. I think many times those go hand in hand, right? Like, hey, we can better is possible. Greater things are ahead of us than behind us. I think those two things go hand in hand.
Let's do it, and let's do it today.
Yeah, but I think the one that surprised me probably more than any other was wisdom. It's just because I tend to be so focused on the future that sometimes it's hard for me to slow down and have something direct to say to a person in a moment about what God's doing or will do or has done. And that's the one that surprised me, I think, in some of my friendships. And then to have somebody kind of call that out and go, wow, I wouldn't have thought about that, but I could, looking back, I can see some different places where God used that. So But then there's definitely others where I would be the guy like yelling in the locker room, and then people are running out without jerseys. What's going on? I don't know, but it's going to be awesome. Like, this is going to be great. So that's why, you know, I married Sarah, is because she's a planner and a perfectionist and an editor. And I think God, but that's the beauty of the body analogy that Paul uses, right? Is when we're knit together, the mouth doesn't run off and do something that hurts the rest of the body when you're aware that. I better be listening to, not just talking. Well,
this has been really fun. Yeah. This is really fun. Haley, get these guys on the schedule some more. This is some really, really good stuff. I just really quick closing. Haley's giving me the little sign. We're going to close out here in 2 seconds, but super practical. If you're going to give someone a little tiny bit of advice on how do you take the first step of identifying and especially applying a spiritual gift, what's your final thought for just practically? How do you do this?
I would try.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it. You know what I mean? Try something that you haven't done before maybe, and try and receive the gift of self-forgetfulness. Like, take yourself...
Wait, say that again. Say that again. That's good.
Man, tweet that, post that on Instagram. What was,
That's
Again,
really
it sounds
good.
more spiritual in an accent, but no, try and receive the gift of self-forgetfulness and take yourself out of the equation, you know, and do something for somebody else. And see what doors I think the Lord opens. Because I think the moment you step in and the moment you have the mind frame of, I want to do this, I want to try, God is in. You know what I mean? Like He will be there and open up opportunity. Some you might fail in, some you might think you're not that great, but it starts opening your eyes to it all. So,
excellent. I'd say do what's in front of you to do. So God's, that announcement that's being made at your church, that thing your spouse has said to you 3 times, there's a reason that's happening. And even if it doesn't feel right, that's probably the psychological barrier in you. And, don't go by your feelings. Yeah. What's in front of you.
Yeah, that's
Take
good.
that step. And, I love what you're saying. I think there's a huge safety net underneath us of grace. If that's not quite it, great. You'll learn some stuff. Yeah. And that's a good thing to know and check off. Yeah. So
I think the thing you want to do is always connected to the thing you can do. So I think of David taking lunch to his brothers. Generally, spiritually, the thing you can do balances the thing you want to do. So ultimately, David's going to be king. But the thing that balanced him being king was that he was serving.
Yeah.
So God says, take lunch to your brothers. Start there. You're going to oversee this whole thing. You're going to be in charge of all this here in a little bit. But before you get there, just remember that it's about serving and meeting needs. Yeah. So when you start doing the thing you can do, it opens the door for what you want to do. And generally, by the time you get to what you want to do, you're prepared, you're balanced, you're healthy, you're not just have a big ego.
So next week we're going to talk about this idea of how growth happens with spiritual gifts. And I'm going to give you just a little teaser right now. That Paul says this amazing statement. He says, the church will grow in love as each one does their part. And those 2 ingredients, there is absolutely no obstacle in your life that can withstand against when there's love and everyone's playing their part.
Wow.
So you want to get to the church this weekend, you want to tune in online, and you want to listen to the flip side for that next episode. And don't forget, like, share, follow. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for listening.